Plane flies with no windows for 10 hours, sucking the pilot out. Lu and his co-pilot Liang expect to make a smooth landing in about an hour. They are extra careful because the aircraft is flying at a higher altitude which causes periodic turbulence. Everything is running smoothly until suddenly, the pilots hear a crack and see that the windshield has been slightly damaged. Lu remains calm and contacts air traffic control, informing them of the emergency. Before the operator can confirm what he heard, the crack gets bigger. In less than a second, the entire windshield breaks, setting off the air pressure in the cockpit. Co-pilot Liang is launched out through the window and Lu leaps out of his seat to catch him. Cuts to a few hours earlier. Lu sets off for work. We see the cabin crew driving to the airport. Everyone arrives in a good mood and starts pre-flight preparations. Lu is flying alongside a fairly new pilot, Liang. We are also introduced to the third pilot, Wang. Outside, the passengers wait while the airport staff does a last-minute mechanical check. The flight attendants inspect the emergency lights, oxygen masks, number of meals, and such before reporting to the head stewardess, Macy. In about 15 minutes, everything is prepared and the passengers are let into the craft. At last, the plane takes off smoothly, making everyone believe it will be a decent flight, but little do they know what is about to come next. In the first half of the flight, the plane experiences heavy turbulence. The air traffic control had already predicted this considering the change in weather. Hence, Lu simply calls them and asks for permission to fly at a higher altitude where the clouds won't bother them. The passengers, on the other hand, are calmed by the flight attendants who do their job efficiently. In some time, the turbulence ends and everyone is relieved. They hear a noise and see the windshield has cracked slightly. The operator is about to suggest they go lower, but before they communicate, the windshield breaks completely, launching Liang outside. Lu quickly holds him back and tries to keep him inside the plane. However, the pilots struggle against the wind and pressure building in the cockpit. Simultaneously, the right engine bursts and stops working, unable to take the load of the airplane. Now, the lives of 119 passengers and 9 crew members are in the hands of Lu. Since the doors to the cockpit are closed, the passengers and the cabin crew outside do not feel the effect of the pressure change. They experience heavy turbulence, but do not think much of it since it has happened before. In the cockpit, Liang is merely seconds away from being thrown outside the window. Lu keeps himself together and decides to take control of the plane before trying to save his co-pilot. He jumps back to his seat and tries to contact the operator again. This is even more difficult because they are flying over the mountain and the plane can crash into one of them at any time. Suddenly, the airplane makes an aggressive right turn, throwing all the passengers to their side. As Lu tries his best to control the airplane, the turbulence only gets worse. Then, he makes a harsh turn in hopes of sucking Mike back into the plane. The plan works, but it also causes the door to the cockpit to open. The air pressure inside the entire plane changes as it jerks backward forcefully. Even in such a condition, Lu does his best to keep the airplane in control. Wang makes the captains wear oxygen masks, which helps them a bit, and they are able to punch in numbers to get the plane to a lower altitude. Somewhere else in the air traffic control office, chaos ensues when they see the plane descending at a frightening rate. The communication with the pilots is also cut off, which is a clear hint that something has gone terribly wrong. They inform the other offices to make room for the flight's emergency landing. Macy then announces that they have lost cabin pressure and requests everyone to stay seated with their seat belts and oxygen masks on. The operator reveals that the plane needs to descend below 3,000 levels to gain enough oxygen, but the mountains below them have an average height of 4,500 meters. Flying above the clouds is not an option, but flying directly into the storm would be inviting demise itself. If the situation continues, everyone on board will fall unconscious. The plane will continue moving on autopilot and eventually crash when it runs out of fuel. After making several circles, Lou finally sees what he was waiting for. A tiny pathway has cleared between the clouds that he can fly the plane through. People from the control room praise his quick thinking and watch as the plane flies into the dark clouds. The control room watches the flight nervously until it suddenly goes off the radar. The captain pulls a lever, propelling the plane forward with all his might. At last, the airplane passes the clouds and the turbulence ends. The plane finally reaches the altitude when there is enough oxygen and the pilots take off their masks for a better view. The connection to the control room is re-established and they are told where to land. The plane finally touches down but keeps moving towards the end of the runway. Everyone is worried that it will crash, but at the last second, all three pilots pull the lever collectively, making it come to a halt. After everyone gets off the airplane, an officer from the management bureau comes in to investigate the malfunction. It turns out that the cockpit had not been pressurized properly because the aircraft was old. Upon seeing the condition it is in, the officer calls Lou an incredible pilot and thanks him for his work.